Okay, I'm going to do a quick demo of the visual effects that comes at the end of Dan is Mad. So I'm just going to come back into my library, have a look for the relevant clips, and the two clips that I want are these ones. Dan with his head in his hands, and then creepy Dan walking towards camera. So first of all, Dan with his head in his hands. Let's just get this clip to the point where Dan is putting his head in his hands. I'm going to hit I to select my in point, and about there, O for my out point, and I'm going to drag both video and audio down onto the timeline. I'm just going to do that little trick of backspace to reveal everything that's on the timeline. Okay, so I've got one clip there. The other clip is going to play on top of. So I'm going to get my in point, Dan walking, scrub through, find the out point, which can be about there. What we're going to do now is layer this video track on top of this video track so that both are in the same kind of time place. I only want the video, so I'm just going to take just the video and I'm going to place it roughly on top. We can play with the exact timings of it in a moment. Now what we need to do is reveal the track that's underneath. So the way I'm going to do that is by cropping this video. I'm going to peel it back from the right, which should reveal underneath Dan sat there. Okay, how are we going to do that? First of all, I'm going to select the clip that I want to manipulate. I'm going to come up to the effects controls and I'm going to realize I don't have the option to crop yet. So how do we do this? Well, back down to our library, we can find these two little arrows, which gives us access to all of the different things in the library, and we want some effects. And it will present me with a search bar. If that doesn't work, we can come up to our workspaces and change it to effects, and it will give us different access to the search. And the effect that I want in this case is crop. So I'm going to search for crop, and I'm going to drag the effect onto the clip that I want it to be accessible on. And when I do that, you can see that I've been given access to the crop tool here. So I've got the clip selected and I want to crop from the right. So I'm going to just drag that value, and you can see over in the program window, as I do it, it reveals the clip underneath. So I'm going to leave it about there. And I'm fairly happy with that, except when it was filmed, there was a little accident happened here, the camera moved. So I'm going to overcome that by changing the scale. I'm going to scale that clip in a tiny bit. Ooh, there we go. And just make the table match up a little bit better. It's not perfect, but it will do. What we have now is the effect of Dan appearing and walking towards our subject before eventually disappearing behind that crop line. So how are we going to overcome that? Well, we're going to revisit the pen tool very quickly. We're going to hit P on the keyboard and we're going to put some keyframes on the video track and make sure that Dan fades out before the illusion is ruined. And again, I can do that at the beginning. I'm going to have Dan fade in so that he doesn't just appear out of nowhere. He fades into the scene, and as he approaches Dan, he eventually fades out. And then the final thing we can do is, if we come back to our selection tool, or V, we can lower the overall transparency of this clip, and what we get is in the effect of Dan fades in but only halfway, and we can see through him, and it adds to that kind of ghostly effect before he eventually fades out. Personally, and this is your choice, I like to have both videos end at the point of Dan reaching him and we cut to black. And in the next video, I'm just going to show you how to add some audio that will really sell the impact of that motion, that action.